Recently, the United States Air Force marked a very special anniversary. The legendary U-2 Dragon Lady spy plane turned 70 years old, and instead of celebrating with a party or a big cake, the Air Force chose to honor the occasion, in true U-2 style, by breaking endurance records in its first major long-distance flight in more than a decade. This wasn't just a trip for the history books, it was a reminder that even after 7 decades, the U-2 still has what it takes to impress the aviation world. The story of the U-2 begins in the tense, uncertain days of the 1950s. The Cold War was in full swing, and the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a dangerous rivalry. It wasn't simply a matter of politics, both sides were determined to outmatch each other in military power and technology. The Soviet Union had shocked the world with bold moves. They refused to give up control of territories taken during World War II, developed their own atomic bomb years ahead of predictions, and actively worked to expand their influence in the West. To make things even more nerve-wracking, Soviet leaders often boasted that they had far more bombers and missiles than the West could ever hope to match. The truth was, no one in the West knew if those claims were real or just a bluff. Without a way to look deep into Soviet territory, there was no way to be certain. Today, gathering intelligence is much easier. We have fleets of satellites in orbit that can snap crystal-clear photos from space. Private companies sell high-resolution images to anyone who wants them, and even amateur researchers can track events across the globe with a few clicks. But in the 1950s, there was no such luxury. If you wanted to see what was happening on the other side of the Iron Curtain, you had to get a plane up there, and you had to do it without getting caught. That's when President Eisenhower gave the green light for a new type of aircraft. This plane would be able to fly so high that enemy defenses couldn't touch it, stay in the air long enough to cover vast distances, and carry powerful cameras to capture detailed images of Soviet military sites. The result was the U-2 Dragon Lady. The U-2 wasn't built like a typical military plane. Most reconnaissance aircraft at the time were modified bombers, heavy, bulky, and not ideal for sneaking over enemy territory. The U-2, on the other hand, was lightweight and almost delicate in appearance, as if it were made from gossamer rather than metal. Its wings were long and narrow, stretching an impressive 105 feet, more like a soaring bird than a traditional jet. A single General Electric F-118-101 turbofan engine provided 17,000 pounds of thrust, giving it the power it needed to reach extreme altitudes. With a fuel capacity of 2,950 gallons, the U-2 could fly more than 7,000 miles without stopping. And it didn't just fly high, it practically kissed the edge of space, cruising at altitudes above 70,000 feet. From that height, pilots could see the curvature of the Earth. But flying that high came with its own challenges. Pilots had to wear bulky pressure suits, similar to what astronauts use, to survive the thin air. Since its first flight in 1955, the U-2 has been at the center of some of the most tense moments in modern history. In 1960, the U-2 became a global headline when one was shot down over the Soviet Union. Its pilot, Francis Gary Powers, was captured and put on trial in Moscow for espionage. The incident sparked a major diplomatic crisis. 2 years later, during a routine reconnaissance mission over Cuba, a U-2 discovered something alarming: the Soviets were secretly building missile bases capable of reaching the United States. This discovery triggered the Cuban Missile Crisis, one of the closest moments the world has come to nuclear war. Despite these high-stakes missions, the U-2 also exposed that many Soviet claims about their massive nuclear arsenal were exaggerated. The reality was far less threatening than the image they tried to project. You might expect that after decades of service, the U-2 would have been retired long ago. Yet the Dragon Lady remains in use, even in an age dominated by satellites and drones. Its ability to fly extremely high for long periods, combined with its advanced sensors, still makes it valuable for intelligence gathering. At Beale Air Force Base in California, one special version of the plane, the Tu-2S, is used for training. Unlike the original single-seat U-2, this one has 2 seats so that experienced pilots can guide newcomers through the unique challenges of flying such an unusual aircraft. In July 2025, the Tu-2S took off for a mission unlike any other in recent memory. Pilots Ultralord and Lieutenant Colonel Jethro, whose full name remains classified for security reasons, were at the controls. The mission? To push the U-2 to its limits, and break some records along the way. The flight lasted a staggering 14 hours, covering more than 6,900 miles as the plane crossed the continental United States. It was the longest flight ever for this model of U-2. There were even rumors that an altitude record was also broken, though the Air Force hasn't confirmed that. While the U-2's performance was impressive, so was the pilot's endurance. Flying at such high altitudes in a pressure suit for 14 hours is no small feat. The cockpit is cramped, movement is limited, and there are no restroom facilities. This is why, before flights, U-2 pilots traditionally eat a high-protein meal of steak and eggs, a nod to the early days of the program. The flight also required detailed planning. The Air Force had to map out emergency landing locations, carefully plan the flight route, and account for factors like wind patterns, temperature changes, and the risk of accidentally crossing into restricted airspace. The U-2 Dragon Lady is a survivor from another era. It was born during a time when human pilots had to risk flying directly over enemy territory to gather crucial intelligence. Even as technology evolved, the U-2 adapted and stayed relevant. Now, 70 years after its first flight, it's still breaking records and proving that some designs are simply timeless. Whether it's revealing hidden threats during the Cold War or setting endurance records in the 21st century, the U-2 remains one of the most remarkable aircraft ever built. Its story is one of ingenuity, bravery, and resilience, and it's not over yet. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Also, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. If you know someone who would enjoy this video as much as you did, share it with them. Let's spread the love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.